to just start talking here, I guess. I can see that I'm all on my own here, which is perfectly fine with me. Will I start straight into the questions? I need to put on my glasses, I can't see. I was drawing and I have to take off my glasses when I'm drawing. I'm painting. Do you want to see my desk and my messy office? Let's do that. Because I'll share this afterwards anyway. Right, so I'm using my computer, not a phone. This is my desk. So I normally have my phone on a thing that sticks up. But I just stacked this up on my season's greetings from 2022 and this box. And this is my desk, which I've taken photographs of before. This is beside my desk, which I'd started to organize my albums. And I have a cute little terrarium here. But yeah, I started to organize them and then I stopped organizing them. And they've become a little bit scattered all over the place. I even have my happy albums behind my head there. The rest of my office is currently storing boxes of framed paintings that I need to take apart. Some of them have sold, some of them I'll just kind of store them up. And this mess here is where my printer and scanner are. And lots of paintings. Right, okay. I put this back. So, what I came here today to do was to answer questions. And 4 lovely people left me questions, so let's find them. Sorry, my desk is really creaky. Let's see if I can find them. Oh, I need my glasses. So from Twitter X, we had Namjuning Army asked me 4 different questions. I hope the sound is okay. I'm not speaking very loudly. First question, gosh, what inspires you when drawing? I didn't do too much preparation for answering the questions, so I'm going to think about them a little bit while I answer too. You know, obviously I draw a lot of BTS, so listening to their music or watching them perform, definitely. But it's more like if I see an image or have a particular feeling, then I'm trying to somehow express that in ways that aren't just words. I guess that's it. So I don't ever really feel like I'm achieving that particularly well, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to take something that's inside of me and put it on paper so that when somebody looks at it, they might have that feeling too. When did I begin drawing? Well, don't we all start drawing from when we're tiny? So forever? I know I don't mean that to be a cop-out. Oh, hey, there's someone here. Hi, Ashley. It's nice to not be just talking to myself. When did I start drawing sort of in earnest was during the pandemic, and some of you might have seen some of my early work, which wasn't particularly good, but I still loved it. Other than that, I actually drew a comic when I moved back from Japan, that my husband's a writer, so he wrote the script and then I turned it into a comic back in about 2008, 2009. Oh, hi Hannah! Thank you, Ashley. Yeah, what's my favorite piece of art that I have created so far? I have no ability to answer that question. I really don't. It's so it's so varied. Is there anywhere we can get the comic? Well, I had it published on a website for a while. I'll see if I can dig up copies of it and share it. I never finished the story. We did about 8 chapters of it, something like that. I was drawing it for a few years. It's very sort of cartoony style, but not as clean as really good comic artists do. Yeah. Favorite piece of art? I remember when I read this question, I just thought, I can't answer that. I don't know how to answer that. But then there are some pieces that are special, but I can't always tell. Almost always, as soon as I finish a piece, I hate it is strong. It's not that I hate it. I just feel like it's lacking and that I didn't manage to fully get what I'd hoped for down on paper. But then that passes after I step back from it for a while. Well, I'd take you out of there. There's one that's on my wall, and it's not particularly good, but it's still one of my favorites for a long time. It's one of the early ones that I did, I think about 2001. And I have it on a wall out here. A journey around my house. So, oops. This would be easier if it was with a phone. Not that one of me. This way. Yeah. This one of Jungi, I've always just really, really liked. I don't know, maybe it's the duffel coat. If I turned on my light, you could see it better. And there's one other one that's a bit older that I love a lot. Let me see. Hi, Louis. Thank you guys for coming in so that I wasn't just talking to myself, even though I think I wouldn't have minded too much. Where's my book? Right. I keep some of the paintings in these Polly Pocket books so that I can find them. If I can find the one that I'm looking for. No, that one is just clippings. These ones are all 2020, 2021, some 2022. These are like all the really older ones. You can't see, but I have a tiny drawer in my desk so I can keep my coloring pencils and things there. This is one of my favorite ones. That's Jungkook with blue hair. I don't know why. I just like it. It's very cartoony style. Let me see. The one I'm looking for. It is from this one. When I drew it, this was the first time that I felt like I'd captured something of what I wanted to with Jungi. And hold it close to the camera. No, this way. Everything's backwards. It's a bit of a different style from what I do now. You can see like the really strong black lines around it. That was January 2021, so I'd been drawing them since August, about 5 months. So yeah, 5 months of really feeling like I wasn't getting things down on paper the way I wanted to, but then that one I did. Anyway, that's a couple. There's obviously more. Those are some of them that, while they're not necessarily very good, I figured they're not bad. I don't mean to be too harsh, but I like something about them. Hello, more people. Oh, there's some more questions here. When did I find BTS? May 2022, when I heard Dechita. the 2020, not 2022, May 22nd is what I say, but I don't know for sure. I don't know the exact date. I just know that's when it was released, so I counted from then. It was pretty shortly after it was released. Probably would have been within a couple of days. Okay, let's see. Do I ever hit creative blocks? And if yes, how do I overcome them? I don't really. Is that weird? I do and I don't. If I have days where I feel like any human that the things that normally give me joy are not giving me joy, and that will include painting as well. And what I do is I paint anyway. Yeah, I just, within 20 minutes of sitting down to the page, it passes. So yeah. Do I go back to my old styles sometimes? I don't really think about having a style, so I just draw with whatever I think of at the time. So it wasn't conscious to add that thick black line around that particular painting. It's just what looked right to me when I was drawing it, and now that doesn't look right to me anymore, so I don't do it. But if it felt like I wanted to, I would, I suppose. And do I see a progression away from old styles? Again, I don't know. So I've never really thought about a particular style. Yeah. The other thing to keep away from creative blocks for me is to have several works in progress on the go at a time. Actually, I always have a list of things I want to draw that is way longer than what I have time to draw. Unfortunately, sometimes when time passes and I come back to it, I'm not feeling it anymore. And when I have the time and when life isn't getting in the way, then I'll try and draw as quickly as I can. So it's kind of like racing against that. Going by vibes, yes. I'm not really sure if I have a technique or much of anything. Okay, so those were all from Namjuning Army, whose display name is N. Obviously, I just recognize them by their @ on Twitter. I don't always know people's names. Okay, so Leo Bangtan, do I pronounce that right? Is it Leo or Lio? Anyway, Leo is what I'm saying. The emotional connection always shines through your art. How do you make that happen? Gosh, these questions are really hard. I have a bit of a cold, so I'm drinking medicine. Lemsip. Do you guys have Lemsip where you're from? I think it's not in every country. I remember when I lived in Japan, when people came to visit me, I asked them to bring it because you couldn't get it there. It's like paracetamol in a lemon-flavored drink that you add hot water, boiling water to. That's it. It's only paracetamol, but it just seems to work. How do I make an emotional connection happen? Again, this was one I was thinking about because it's not conscious. It's like the question of how do you know when a picture is finished? I just stop when I feel like it's finished. So is that too much just running on vibes? Maybe. I thought about some of the things that I do technically. So this may sound like a little bit too prescriptive, but it feels like the emotion of a picture hides in the shadows. Like if you're drawing sort of like a line of somebody and there'll be a really dark shadow here and one, over here or in the corner of an eye or the corner of someone's mouth. And if you, and this is part of like not doing that solid black line as well, because if you just do like a big block of shadow here, it doesn't seem to resonate the same way. But if you just pick a spot and go really deep on that shadow and then let it fade out throughout the rest of the face, that seems to have something to do with it. I'm also like, I really, really like ink and watercolor because of how they flow, and something in the flow of getting the ink or the watercolor on paper seems to just make a picture feel more alive. That's what I think anyway. Yeah. I've often heard that having a handful of smaller and bigger projects at the same time is helpful. I almost always have some overarching project that I'm trying to work on, where I'm tying a few images together. And with BTS, I did that with the exhibition that just finished in January. So that was really nice to have an arc to kind of connect all the drawings together, rather than just, I'm just drawing them because I just like to, and because, listening to their music and them being away makes me forget them. So, not forget them, miss them. So I draw them to help with that. Ashley says, feels like you are unearthing things like a sculptor would out of rock. Actually, sometimes I just really get my fingers right onto the page and move the paint around with my fingers, not just with a paintbrush. It does feel like you're sort of feeling out what they look and feel like. Yeah. Okay, experimenting. So Leo's asking about experimenting. I know you had fun when you tried gold leaf. Are there other things you'd like to try? I love how that's phrased. Did I have fun? Well, I liked trying it. It's a little bit frustrating because it doesn't, behave the way I want it to all the time. Are there other things I'd like to try? Yes. At the moment, I'm trying to figure out a way to make buildings feel emotional, which seems like a really stupid thing once I say it like that. I want to, the works of Yoon that Namjoon referenced and has a few of, the Yoon who's in his song Yoon, and I don't want to pronounce his full name because I'll just butcher it. His paintings, like, they're not buildings, but to me they look like buildings. So they look like buildings at kind of the golden hour of dawn or sunset. And it's like there's an inner light shining out of them. Yeah, I want to try to do something like that, but I don't know if I can. How was curating an exhibition? Asks Louis. Gosh, really stressful and time consuming. I don't know how much of it I want to do. But if I don't do it, then I don't show my paintings. So Hannah has asked me, have I ever not finished a painting? I have a couple of paintings that I decided to leave as they are. One is of Namjoon from Right Place, Wrong Person. Because of the documentary now, I always get his album name wrong. Anyway, I'll just say RPWP. You know when he's sort of sitting above a city? He's kind of sitting on a wall. He's a lovely smile on his face. Anyway, I did that one as far as the first wash of paint. And I kind of just like it like that. So I'm not going to go any further with it. And I have paintings that I finished and I wish I hadn't. I think they looked better if I would have stopped sooner, more dreamlike or something. Yeah. Okay, let me finish the questions that came in before. Oops, where are they? How long do I take for each piece? How long is a piece of string? I don't know. I don't time myself. Because I've been asked this question before, I sort of estimated it that it's around 10 to 15 hours usually for an A4 piece of drawing time. But, stretched across various amounts of different days and things. But sometimes I could probably finish a painting in 5 hours. If I'm doing a small sort of A5 just pencil drawing, that could be 2.5 hours of just drawing time. But getting 2.5 hours in one go is not something that my life is set up for. So I work in as little as 20-minute bursts. So just set a timer for 20 minutes, close my door, and then go back to my other obligations, and then try and get another 20 minutes later, and so on. Yeah. Okay. How do I avoid RSI in my hands? I don't. I get pains. Yeah, I get a lot of pain in my hands. I try and work out, do yoga. It's not just in my hands. I'll get like pains in my back and stuff like that. But if I get pain in my hand, I don't stop. I just go. I just work when it hurts. I'll just keep going. Some types of pain you can just push through. Other types of pain you probably shouldn't do that, but I do anyway, because I might take a rest for a day. I had when I fell last year and I sprained my fingers, I strapped them together, and then after a day's rest I started drawing again. Yeah, that's probably not something we should recommend, but that is what I do. Let's see. What is your relationship to color and how you utilize them in your art? I don't know. These questions are too hard for me. I feel like I'm really bad for having offered to answer questions and not be able to answer them. I have never studied color theory. I really admire people who do really interesting, colorful art. I like doing monocolor, so like a single color art, in the same way that I do like black and white, but just choose, say. So I started doing that because of indigo, and then I did it with a few different other colors as well. Nice thing about watercolor is if you're trying to figure out what colors work, you can layer on one and then build it up and get a sense of how it's going from there. So I just play with it on the page and figure out what's going to work. Thank you, guys. Just reading your comments there. Okay, so that was 2 people. I've answered 2 people, and you guys too. Thank you for coming and asking questions. Is this boring? Well, you could always go if it was. It's kind of fun having people in the chat because it feels more like a conversation than just me talking off the top of my head. Oh, hi Grace, I didn't see someone come in there. Do I listen to music as I work? Yes, absolutely. I make different playlists for different, parts of my life. A lot of the time I just fling on my main playlist. I have a giant playlist that has all of BTS discography, all of their chapter 2 work, and various other artists that I connect with them, like Epic High or Halsey, or Eon, and people like that. So I will just put it on a random shuffle and see what comes up. But if I'm drawing a particular member, I'll often go with a playlist of their work. I wanted to be playing BTS music on this live stream, and then the internet told me that I would probably get muted or stopped or not be able to share it afterwards. So no BTS music. I have found a Spotify list of non-copyright music for background streaming just for this purpose. It's not too bad though. Okay, so this is Yoongi Foreba, again from Twitter X. Does an artistic streak run in my family? My sister used to draw a lot. In fact, actually, I didn't really pursue art, so I didn't study art in school or in college. And even though I loved drawing, I never really pushed myself with it because my sister was really good at drawing. So it was like there was this block in my head going, that was her space. And while I could have it as a hobby, I couldn't be the good one at drawing. It's weird. Like nobody told me that. That was just me, my own head decided that. But I obviously got past it. My kids, though, yeah, one of my twins, was really, really excellent. When I was growing up, when I was a teenager, I had this friend who isn't was and is an excellent artist, and I remember watching him draw, and it was like the image was already there on the page. So and he was just calling it out of the paper. It was intensely cool to watch, but also a little bit intimidating because I can't draw like that. I have to build it up and get it wrong and manipulate it and bring it back, things like that. So yeah, but my son, my second twin, when I see him draw, he draws like that. So it's really cool. It's really cool to have an innate built-in talent like that. But hopefully, I'm proof that you don't need it. You can just work. You can just work hard. Wasn't there that phrase from Jungi once, which I find really inspiring? He said, like, hard work is a type of genius too. So I like that. I like that a lot. Because that's definitely something I can control in myself, is how hard I work. Well, if there's time and if the brain weasels don't get too loud, then I can control how hard I work. hard work genius, Louis, maybe only. When you first started, did you realize how important it would be to you? I don't know if I knew when I first started, but I suppose if we go back to when I first started drawing BTS, which was during the pandemic, and I think I, like many people who found BTS, was having a really hard time with life when I found them. I felt like a shell. Like I wasn't even particularly depressed or sad. A lot of anxiety, but I haven't shaken that even now. But I didn't feel particularly alive. I'm finding them and their music, and then accessing drawing them around that time was like waking up. So did I realize how important it would be to me? Like, in a way, it was nearly more important to me then. Now, the other thing, so then it wasn't hard to just say every day I was drawing because there was nothing else I wanted to do. It was like this tunnel that I'd gone into. Now it would be much easier to skip days because I'm like, oh, I can come back. And it's not as intense of an obsession as it was for like the first couple of years. So I have to remind myself to prioritize it, or too many of the other tasks of life will pull me away, and I don't want them to. So it's more like now I realize that it's important in the way, say, a good friendship or a marriage is, where you have to choose to focus on it, not just let it languish and assume everything will be okay. Yeah, I think something like that. When you work, do you get in a trance or a zone? I don't know what to call it. That's flow state. So flow, yes. Oh gosh, there's nothing nicer. I don't always have the time to spend. So I'll draw when I'm not in flow, but it's really, really nice to get into it. But it takes Okay, so they've done studies on this. It takes on average 20 minutes to get into flow. So I could just be getting into flow and then something will distract me and I have to go and attend to that. But there are days, usually at least once a week, I'll get like a solid run of an hour or 2 hours, and that's really lovely. That's a really lovely time. Yeah. Okay, so I have now answered the questions of 3 people and 1 more person. This time from Blue Sky was Amaranto, who is Moon Chaldu on Blue Sky, but I know was Crafty Moon on Twitter X, but possibly has left. So they've asked a few questions. Again, when working on a new piece, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Unless it's one of those like sudden, just grabs me by the brain and makes me paint it straight away pictures, I'll often spend like a day or 2 where I'm just thinking about the picture and what's the emotion that it's making in me that I want to get on the paper, and then how to do that. And I'm trying to push myself to not just, okay, I've got certain techniques fairly down at this point, and I don't want to rely on them. I don't want to just keep going back to them. I don't know if it looks very different from the outside, but how I approach things is changing, like always evolving. Like even this last painting of Jin that I'm working on at the moment, I just started it in a really different way. And for that one, I spent a while looking at watercolor paintings from other artists. So I searched up particular keywords about the background because the photo had a black background, but his hair is black. And I could do that and I could make it melt into it. But, well, there was 2 things. One, I wasn't really confident that I could do that and make it look good. So I tried to balance between stretching my technical abilities and actually producing something that I like the look of, because it can be disheartening if you try something and it just looks like a mess. So I want to, they say 10%, stay within 10% of your abilities. So push out to 10%. But if you go beyond that, it's like trying to lift 500 kilograms. You just can't do it, and that can feel a bit disheartening. So, have I answered the question? What's the first thing that comes to my mind? It's not the same every time, but probably emotion. Yeah, emotion. And then I try and visualize how I want it to look on the page. And it never looks how I want it to look on the page. But sometimes I get a bit close to it, and then I get really excited. And then I usually ruin it somehow. And then I get over it. What was the first medium I tried? Pencil, graphite. Pencil and graphite, is that the same thing? Is part of the sub-question here. So graphite is in pencil, but I say graphite when I paint with graphite. Where's my palette? It's got water in it, so if I hold it up, it'll fall out. All the graphite's gone from this. This palette has ink and graphites in varying amounts. So I melt these pencils. Where's it gone? Wrong one. So it says aquarelle, but it's graphite. If I hold that close to the camera. It's actually a pencil, so that will melt in water. So it's water-soluble graphite. And I melt that on my palette and I paint with it. And so when I say graphite or painting with graphite, that's what I mean, as opposed to drawing with pencils. So I've got drawing pencils too, like this one, which is down to its nub, or the mechanical pencils that I use as well. Like a rocket. Yeah, anyway, what did I first draw with? Hey, pencil. When I was a kid? Yeah, of course. pencil when I was a kid. I used to, when I was a teenager, experiment with oils. I felt like I was really kind of being artsy by working with oils, and I loved, like, using the terps to and linseed oil and all the rest of it to kind of like change the texture of them and the smell of it. But it's really, it's I can't say that I would never want to try working with oils again, or acrylics, but it's very different. I just like how watercolor flows. Watercolor and pencil just really feels like what I'm enjoying the most at the moment. But who knows? Who knows? Yeah. Right. I get a feeling that you need to know subjects before painting them. Have you tried to paint a person without knowing much about them? And how's the experience different between them? Technically, I don't know BTS. I just know what I think about them. So that's not, from my point of view, I don't think that's any different from any other humans. We all construct a story about who somebody is. So once I have a story about who somebody is, then I can draw them. But how accurately I draw them is maybe open to interpretation then, because I'm always drawing my story of them. Yeah, definitely with the BTS members, I'm drawing what I think they're like, but maybe they'd look at them, those pictures, and go, it doesn't feel like me. But it feels like they feel to me, and sometimes to others, I hope. Do I have a favorite time to paint? Yes, early in the morning before the sun rises, but I can't always. I try and get up around 5:30 and draw before doing other things, but recently I'm trying to also do other things in the morning, so there isn't always time, and then I do my painting in the afternoon or when the kids are at school. I would also like painting late at night, but you can't do both and get enough sleep to function. It would be nice if life didn't get in the way. That's it. That is all my questions. So, oh yes, I remember I was going to ask, there's probably no more questions about art, right? So is there any point in me doing this again? Do you think that you'd have more questions in the future? Should I maybe do a painting session? But it's hard. Well, I guess you don't have to see me, right? I just set up my camera I have to set up a phone camera to see my desk. I've done it before. I did it on Instagram back last summer. Would that be fun? I find it really hard to talk and paint at the same time, so I have to get completely immersed in a painting. I'm usually holding in my brain the final image, like the destination image, at the same time as its current state, and looking at the reference picture as well. So if someone speaks to me when I'm doing that, it's like waking up from a trance and I can't answer questions. But I could like stop and talk for a few minutes and then go back to painting. I could try that maybe. It's kind of fun. Thank you for coming. So Louis said they liked my older painting process videos, but the painting process videos are sped up like usually 30 times. I won't get much progress in the time that I'd spend here. But it could still be fun, just to see some of the technique, if you like it, if you like that. It was fun to come in and say hi. What about time? I picked this time because my youngest child doesn't fall asleep very easily, so she's finally asleep. But I normally go to bed myself about an hour earlier than this. Oh, thank you, Chris. Chris said they enjoyed the calendar. Okay. Oh, Hannah, you're working night shift again. Well, I might come back, and I don't know when. No, I'd like to. I don't really know why. Just, sometimes I'm talking to people on bluesky or Twitter, and I feel like I want to ramble for longer than the character limit reasonably allows. Even though it's strange, like you guys are typing and I'm talking, but it's cool. Thank you. Right, I'm gonna go and head to bed, and see you guys. Thank you very much for coming along. I'm going to press goodbye now. This feels really awkward.